My name is Wilf Bates. I was born on the 5th of June, 1940, at number 6, Japs Hill, Keynsham. I grew up with grandparents and parents. My grandfather worked on the railway during the war. My grandmother worked at the school kitchens, doing meals for the schools. My two aunties worked part-time at Fry's factory. There were about 7 of us in the house. We all lived in I would say a 5-bedroom house. We shared bedrooms, yeah. We had to go through my grandma's bedroom to get to my bedroom. I shared with my brother, younger brother, and sister. We all had our shouting for mother. Our Wilf won't let me go to sleep. My grandfather, who was an air raid warden in those days, he'd go out and escort you to the shelter when the siren went. We had to get a gas mask about as big as that camera and put it, we had it in a brown box. There was a lot of gas in Keynsham, and the Germans obviously went for the gas chute. Their aircraft would just about reach Avonmouth. They'd have time to drop a load of bombs and just about enough time to get that to Berlin before they crashed because they ran out of fuel. We had an aircraft come down in the back garden, which my mother dealt with. It was shot down and he was trapped in a parachute from a Spitfire.
He was alive?
He was alive. He told my mother to go out of the way, get back, in case it blew up. But the fire brigade, what fire brigade we had, came in, made it safe, and they got the pilot out the aircraft. We have moments like that, and my grandfather used to have to check the gas masks when we got back to make sure that they were ready for when the next siren did go, because he would then take us down to some shelters. We had to, get to school when it was safe to go to school. If the siren went, we had to put our chairs back. I had to come out in an orderly fashion. You make your way home, and then the air raid wardens were ready to count you all. Maria, yeah, Joe, yeah. Where's so-and-so? Oh, always lose somebody, wouldn't it? All the family had one ration book each, and you were allowed so much groceries per week, I would have thought. There was no supermarkets. It was all weighed off on scales on the counters, flour or sugar or whatever it was. And then they would peel off a ration ticket. And then they would say to you, "Now you can't have any more of that for another, say, week." My mother was a lady of time. She would, you always do a roast dinner. In those days, you had your own back gardens where you grew your own sprouts or potatoes, enough to try and feed the family, because you'd have a lot of money to go to the shops and buy stuff. My father was in the Far East. He used to get paid by the War Office, and they used to divert some of his money back to my mother so she could go and buy groceries. I was 5. Yes, I remember the war ending when they all climbed up lampposts. They were concrete posts then, so if you slid down, you hurt yourself. Yeah.
And do you remember having a street party?
Yeah, I remember everybody you had to make your own cakes, your own like squash, a glass of water with a boiled sweet in it. And what's the stuff you used to sprinkle on top? Sherbet. Yeah, if you had an ulcer, you wouldn't keep it in your mouth very long. No. The WRVS, Women's Royal Voluntary Service, they used to come around with insulated tins of ice cream in a stainless steel, stop it melting. And the time you'd done the 3 streets, there wasn't a lot left. They'd make what they could, cakes, sponges, ice cream, jelly. We all sat behind the crowd there were tables, you know. So we all sat down and got into the jelly and we all left school at 15 then. Most of us went to Fry's factory. I went to Fry's with nearly all the chaps you were at school with. You all followed one another really, because we never had not much of a bus service. You could get into Bristol very well. There was a big recruitment on police recruitment, because they were short as well. You couldn't wear glasses. You had to be a certain height. It was nonsense, really. I left Fry's. I worked 10 years at Fry's, and I left there and then did 30 years in the police service. You had to do 2 years probationary, where the chief constable, you could either resign or he'd say, you're unlikely to make. So he had the choice of keeping you on probation, and you say, look, he says, I don't think this is a job for you, or things like that. I should go back and start again. I did 2 years probation.
And you passed the probation?
Passed the probation. So then you've got to get the okay from chief constable. I had to go to Taunton, but you've still got a lot to learn. Well, you're always doing jobs like that, but always learn something every day, really. I did general police duties. I did mostly urban, like Keynsham, Frome, Weston-super-Mare. You had your own motorbike. Then finished up at a place called Compton Martin, which is out on the Chew Valley Lake, which I did 10 years out there. The motorbikes, after a while, I had a phone on the petrol tank and all this jazzy stuff. Big aerial, they'd contact you from Taunton. So they would call me on the number. Mine was Charlie Foxtrot 37. And they would say, oh, there's an accident out on the 37 Pensford. Make your way there, we got other stuff coming with you. Some were all right, some were fatal. Depends what you got when you got there. You didn't know really. You used to go to a few funny places and meet some funny people. And there was somebody with a gun in Compton Martin. This young lad had a 12-bore shotgun. He worked all day for this farmer, and at the end of the day, the young lad said, "You don't give me enough money." He said, yeah, I have my son. Yeah, you got enough money there? No. He went home, he got a shotgun and came back and held him up in this house. They sent Bath CID, and I lived up in the house just up the road. This CID and a couple of other officers, he wouldn't let them in. They're not coming in. I want to see Mr. Bates. They came up it was about 1 a.m, got me out of bed and said, here, there's a bloke down the road. He's in this farmer's house. He won't come out until you go down. I asked him to put the gun down on the floor, which he wouldn't do. He said, no, I want my money. I said, I don't blame you if you want your money, but you ain't going to get your money if you're going to shoot somebody, are you? You ain't going to get nothing. So he relented, he said, I'll give you the gun, but not them. I don't like them. I don't know them. So he gave me the shotgun, which I gave to one of the other blokes that was in the room. And farmer gave me his 10 bob or whatever it was. What phones there were, which Rosemary knows very well, is they had, what do they call it, Rosemary? The party line. You shared maybe with a woman 2 doors up, and she picked the phone up before you have it. You've got to wait till she finished. If you picked up, you could hear her talking to whoever she rang. I'm talking, stuff like that. When we wanted to ring Auntie Pat in Australia, we used to have to make an appointment with the operator. She would write down, well, you can phone her at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we got a space, we got another space at 5 o'clock, and that's your lot. You'd have to wait till Boxing Day before, if you want to do it, make one now. When you finish the call, the operator would ring you back and say 2 shillings or a pound note, and they would deduct that from your telephone bill. And televisions, they drive you nuts. Just as you were getting to them, bang them on the back as they the picture will go. Black and white, no colour, of course. We used to go in different people's houses because I had a telly and you didn't. So they say, 2 o'clock, coronation. They stay a bit, watch the coronation. If you never had a telly, we didn't have a telly. We had a radio when it worked. But, yeah.